The Temple Mount in Jerusalem has never been officially excavated, but an illegal construction project 2 decades ago unexpectedly opened the door to remarkable discoveries. As dawn breaks over the city, Jerusalem awakens in gradients of gold. First light catches the dome of the rock, its gilded surface blazing like a fallen star. From minarets and synagogues, prayers rise in overlapping waves, Arabic, Hebrew, and Latin, each calling this ground holy, each laying claim to it. Soon, tourists will crowd the Western Wall, and pilgrims will press their foreheads to ancient stones. But beneath their feet, beneath the limestone bedrock of the Temple Mount, lies something no prayer book mentions. This is the most forbidden ground on earth. For centuries, faith has drawn a boundary around this hill, warning: do not dig, do not disturb, do not question. Jewish law forbids entering the site of the Holy of Holies, lest mortal feet desecrate God's dwelling place. Islamic authority protects the noble sanctuary, guarding it against those who might disguise political motives as archaeology. Thus, the earth below has kept its silence, holding secrets that empires feared to uncover, until now. In 2021, for the first time in history, artificial intelligence analyzed ground-penetrating radar data beneath the Temple Mount. Researchers expected to map the ruins of Solomon's temple, perhaps confirm ancient texts or resolve theological debates. Instead, the AI identified something that should not exist beneath the house of God, a sealed, perfectly circular chamber carved from living bedrock. Within it were traces of materials used for only one purpose: containment. Inscriptions found in nearby tunnels spoke of a warden, not a priest or a guardian of treasure, but one who guards prisoners. The question that now haunts every scholar who's seen the data is chilling. What kind of prison requires a temple built above it as a lock? Did humanity's holiest shrine serve to worship or to imprison? The chamber remains sealed, and perhaps it should stay that way. Yet the scans have already revealed enough to challenge everything we thought we knew about faith history and the ground where 3 great religions meet. What lies beneath the Temple Mount may not be divine at all, but something older, darker, something that was never meant to wake. The warden still stands guard. But for how long? Jerusalem is more than just a city. It is a fault line A meeting point for faith and politics that collides with the force of shifting tectonic plates. To walk through its streets is to walk through a journey from one world into another. Ultra-Orthodox Jews in their black coats, Muslim families on their way to Al-Aqsa, Christian pilgrims following the Via Dolorosa. Every stone has been prayed over. Every alley has been bled for. At the very middle of it all rises the Temple Mount, 37 acres of limestone plateau, claimed by 3 religions as the axis whereby heaven touches earth. For Jews, it is Har HaBeit, the place where Abraham bound Isaac, where Jacob dreamed of angels in ascension and descent, and where Solomon built the first temple to house the Ark of the Covenant. The Holy of Holies, the innermost chamber, was said to rest directly over the foundation stone, the rock from which God created the world. To stand there was to stand at the center of existence itself. To the Muslims, it is Haram al-Sharif, noble sanctuary, where the Prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven during the night journey, escorted by the angel Gabriel. The dome of the rock marks the place where his foot last touched earth before rising to the 7 heavens to receive divine revelation. It is Islam's 3rd holiest site, a destination of pilgrimage and prayer for upwards of 13 centuries. For Christians, it is the place where Jesus overturned the tables of money changers, prophesied the temple's destruction, and where the divine clashed with political power. The history of the Temple Mount is written in stone and blood. Solomon's first temple stood for nearly 400 years before Babylonian armies razed it in 586 BCE. Its eventual replacement, the Second Temple, expanded by Herod the Great into one of the ancient world's marvels, was itself leveled by Roman legions in 70 CE, leaving only the Western Wall standing. For 6 centuries, the plateau lay in ruins until the Islamic conquest, when between 688 and 691 CE the Dome of the Rock was completed, its golden crown declaring a new era. Yet beneath all this, beneath the temples, mosques, empires, and exiles, the bedrock endures, cut through with tunnels, cisterns, and chambers older than any structure above. But here lies the problem. No one is allowed to look. Jewish law forbids stepping onto certain areas of the mount for fear of treading where the Holy of Holies once stood, an area once entered only by the high priest, only on Yom Kippur, and only after ritual purification. Today, with the temple destroyed and the priesthood dissolved, the exact location of that sacred space is unknown. To walk the mount at all risks desecration. Islamic law, enforced by the Jordanian-appointed Waqf, prohibits foreign excavation. The mount remains an active place of worship, where Muslims pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque 5 times a day. Any attempt to dig is seen not as archaeology, but as provocation, a political act threatening Muslim sovereignty over the sanctuary. Israel, which controls security but not religious authority on the mount, must balance on a razor's edge. Every archaeological decision risks a diplomatic crisis. Every rumor of excavation can ignite unrest. In 1996, the opening of an ancient tunnel near the mount sparked clashes that killed 80 people. In 2000, Ariel Sharon's visit to the site helped trigger the Second Intifada. Here, archaeology is not academic. It is weaponized. Every artifact becomes ammunition in the struggle for narrative. The paradox is absolute. The closer scholars come to truth beneath the mount, the nearer they draw to chaos. Divine ground becomes a powder keg. The search for God threatens to unleash hell. Yet some truths refuse to stay buried. In 1867, British Royal Engineer Charles Warren arrived in Jerusalem armed with ropes, lanterns, and conviction that the past could be unearthed like any other frontier. The Ottoman authorities had forbidden digging directly on the Temple Mount. So Warren did what any Victorian explorer would. He tunneled beneath it. Picture him descending into darkness, lamplight flickering on wet stone, rope burning his palms, the air growing colder as he dropped into cistern sealed since the fall of Rome. His expedition mapped a labyrinth of ancient water channels, storage chambers and shafts cutting through bedrock like the circulatory system of a vast stone organism. His most famous find was a vertical shaft north of the city of David, later named Warren's Shaft, which he believed King David's soldiers might have used to infiltrate Jerusalem from below, entering the Jebusite city through its own water system, as described in the biblical account of 2 Samuel. This romance of the discovery has captured imaginations across Europe and turned archaeology into a form of pilgrimage that seemed to confirm scripture through exploration. Yet, for Charles Warren, the 19th century engineer who tunneled beneath Jerusalem, excitement gave way to unease. In his journals, now meticulously preserved in the British Museum, he described underground passages that ended not in collapse but in deliberate sealing. Walls of rougher, older stone had been built across corridors, blocking the way. He sketched doorways filled in so solidly that centuries of water had failed to loosen a single stone. Warren could go no further. The mount itself was untouchable, protected by both law and faith. His tunnels reached the bedrock plateau from below, from the sides, but could never penetrate the sacred ground above. Forced to stop, he left his maps unfinished, his curiosity unsatisfied. Still, his work proved something vital. Beneath the Temple Mount lay an entire hidden infrastructure chambers and corridors carved by hands that may have worked before Solomon himself. Some had been sealed, not to preserve what was inside, but to ensure it was never opened again. Modern explorers would one day take up where Warren had left off, armed with technologies of which he could never have dreamed. Their discoveries confirmed his intuition. Something beneath the mount had indeed been deliberately sealed away. The question was why. Standing at the base of the Western Wall, one looks up to see the Temple Mount rising like a fortress of faith, a platform of stone that has defied empires and outlived civilizations. To the devout, it is more than sacred. It is the axis mundi, the meeting point of heaven and earth. For Jews, it is where Abraham proved his faith, where Jacob dreamed of angels ascending and descending, and where the first and second temples once stood, housing the Ark of the Covenant and the divine presence, the Shekinah in the Holy of Holies. Tradition holds that when the Messiah comes, the third temple will rise upon the same mount, heralding redemption. For Muslims, the site marks the Isra, the night journey in which the Prophet Muhammad was carried from Mecca to Jerusalem on the winged steed Al-Buraq, and from the foundation stone ascended into the presence of Allah. The dome of the rock, completed in 691 CE, enshrines that very stone, while the nearby Al-Aqsa Mosque remains one of Islam's oldest and holiest sanctuaries. To pray here is to walk where prophets once walked. Both faiths revere the ground as a threshold between worlds, and that reverence has created an intractable dilemma. Jewish law, codified in Halakha, forbids entry into certain parts of the mount without ritual purification from the ashes of a red heifer. Because no one knows the precise location of the Holy of Holies, many observant Jews avoid the entire plateau, deeming it forbidden until the temple is rebuilt. Meanwhile, Muslim authorities, through the Islamic Waqf, administer daily control of the site, permitting non-Muslims to visit only during limited hours and forbidding any non-Muslim prayer or excavation. In this fragile balance, even archaeology becomes dangerous. A shovel in the wrong place is seen not as science, but as provocation. The tensions go back a long way. In 1996, the opening of a Second Temple-era tunnel exit by Israeli authorities triggered riots that killed dozens. In 1999, the Waqf excavated trenches to enlarge an underground mosque, removing tons of soil without documentation, an act Israeli archaeologists denounced as cultural vandalism. Each side accused the other of trying to erase history. The result was paralysis. No digging, no exploration. The past sealed away beneath the mount, protected not only by reverence, but by fear that uncovering it might ignite a war. Then, in 1999, the earth itself seemed to break its silence. As part of the mosque expansion, the Waqf removed almost 400 truckloads of dirt from the southeastern corner of the mount and dumped it into the Kidron Valley. Archaeologically speaking, it was an outrage, thousands of years of history tossed away. Yet two men, Gabriel Barkey and his protege Zaki Dvira, saw a chance. They salvaged the earth and embarked on the Temple Mount Sifting Project, a gargantuan effort to sift every bucket by hand. Students, tourists, retirees, even children from far and wide began volunteering at this work, shaking wet soil through mesh screens to expose fragments of pottery, coins, glass, bone, and metal. Over time, over 500,000 artifacts began to emerge: ritual stone vessels, inscribed pottery, Hasmonean coins, Roman arrowheads, Byzantine tiles, Crusader crosses, and Islamic oil lamps. One find, a small gold bell from the high priest's vestments as described in Exodus, provided actual proof of biblical ritual. Others, like clay seals with names of Judahite officials, connected scripture with real people who once toiled in the shadow of the temple. But among these treasures were anomalies, artifacts that did not fit into any known period. Pottery older than Solomon, amulets inscribed with symbols predating Hebrew, bronze fragments etched with imagery not Jewish, Christian, or Islamic, perhaps Canaanite or older still. If authentic, they suggested that the mount had been sacred long before the time of Abraham. What, then, had first been worshipped there, and why was this hill chosen for the temple? In 2021, a clandestine team of archaeologists, geophysicists, and computer scientists undertook an effort to find answers without ever breaking ground. Using ground-penetrating radar, GPR, and artificial intelligence that was trained on hundreds of years of maps and geological data, they mapped the bedrock beneath the mount virtually. The GPR emitted radio waves, which would reflect off changes in density, stone versus air, limestone versus lead, creating images like an ultrasound of the earth. The AI analyzed those signals, comparing them with everything from Warren's Victorian sketches to modern infrastructure blueprints. It learned to identify man-made structures, sealed corridors, and anomalies unseen by human eyes. Initial scans confirmed the known features: Warren shafts, Second Temple aqueducts, Herodian cisterns, Crusader crypts, and Ottoman foundations. However, as the team extended their grid beneath the Dome of the Rock in Al-Aqsa, areas not touched since 1967, they found something extraordinary. Deep beneath all known construction, they found carved corridors, geometrically precise chambers, and at its center, a perfect circular cavity 12 meters wide, sealed tight with stone and clay. The walls were unnaturally smooth, lacking even chisel marks or the slightest signs of toolwork. It was as if the rock had been melted, not carved. Nothing in any record matched this anomaly. Repeated scans confirmed it. A sealed, intact chamber, untouched for nearly 3,000 years, lay directly beneath the holiest ground on earth. The AI reconstructed a three-dimensional model, a ghostly digital twin of a cylindrical room, with a domed ceiling and a shallow basin cut into its floor. The precision that would challenge even modern technology made engineers marvel. Where were the telltale marks of their tools if Bronze Age hands shaped it? The perfection of the chamber suggested something else entirely. Whatever lay sealed within the bedrock of Jerusalem had been deliberately hidden, and perhaps never meant to be found.